The battlefield was lost. Soldiers were falling. Even the commander had given up hope. But then one untrained woman, a civilian aid worker, picked up a rifle and changed everything. The night sky over the desert was quiet, too quiet. A silence heavy enough to crush the strongest of men. Captain Daniel Reed crouched behind the wreck of a transport truck, the smell of smoke thick in his lungs. His convoy, once proud and orderly, now lay scattered across the sand like broken toys. Flames licked the air, twisted metal groaned, and the cries of the wounded echoed in the dark. He had seen war before. He had seen chaos. But this night was different. The enemy had been clever. They had known where to strike, when to strike, and how to cut the team off from their radios. It was a trap, and it had worked perfectly. Reed's arm bled from a shard of shrapnel. His hand shook when he pressed the wound, but he forced his face to stay cold. His men were watching him. They always watched him. A leader could never show fear. But deep inside, for the first time in years, he felt it. Hopelessness. Then his eyes caught something strange through the haze of fire and dust. A woman. She was not one of his soldiers. Her clothes were torn, her hair matted with sand, her face pale with fear. She pressed herself against the side of a burning vehicle, trying not to be seen. Reed squinted through the chaos. He remembered her. Hours earlier, she had introduced herself at the staging area. Her name was Ava Jackson, a civilian aid worker, carrying medical supplies meant for nearby villages. She had been polite, nervous, out of place among soldiers. He had expected never to see her again, and yet, here she was, trapped in the heart of the battlefield. Ava Jackson pressed her back against the burning frame of the truck. The heat scorched her skin, but she did not move. If she moved, they might see her. If she stayed, maybe she would survive. Her chest rose and fell quickly. She had been in dangerous places before, villages full of sick children, towns short of food, but nothing like this. This was war. This was death flying through the air as bullets cracked and wind in the night. She squeezed her eyes shut for a moment. The screams of wounded soldiers cut through her thoughts. She wanted to run, to them, to help them, but her body refused to move. She was not trained for this. She was a healer, not a fighter. Then she saw it. 10 feet away, half buried in the sand, lay a rifle. It had slipped from the hand of a soldier who no longer moved. Ava's eyes locked on it. Her mind shouted 2 voices at once. Don't touch it, tool. Only make things worse. Pick it up. If you do nothing, everyone will die. She shook, torn between fear and the pull of something stronger, survival. Captain Reed caught her eyes through the smoke. His face was hard, his arm bleeding. He shook his head sharply. The message was clear. Stay down, don't move. But something in his expression hurt her. He looked defeated, almost broken. She had seen that look before, not in soldiers, but in patients, men and women who had lost hope. And she knew what happened when hope disappeared. Death followed. Her heart pounded. Her hands trembled. But she began to crawl. Every inch Ava moved felt like a mile. The sand scraped her knees, and the bullets above hissed like angry insects. She kept her head low, her breath ragged, her eyes fixed on the rifle. Her fingers brushed cold steel. She froze. The weapon felt heavy, heavier than she imagined. She had never fired a gun before. She barely knew how to hold one. It felt wrong in her hands, almost sinful. Her stomach twisted. She thought of her father teaching her how to fix a tire, of her mother wrapping bandages around children's cuts. They had raised her to save lives, not take them. But here, saving and fighting were the same thing. She looked back at Reed. He was watching, his face dark with worry. He shook his head again, his eyes saying, "Don't do this." But she also saw something else in his gaze. Pain, fear, and deep inside, a tiny flicker of hope that she might actually help. Ava pulled the rifle close. Her body shook as she lifted it. She pressed her shoulder against the hot metal of the truck for balance. Her breath came in sharp, shallow bursts. She thought she might faint, but then she whispered to herself, "I can't just hide." Her finger found the trigger. She closed one eye, aimed clumsily toward the ridge where flashes of gunfire lit the night and fired. The recoil slammed her back. The sound shattered her ears. She gasped, sure she had missed, but the enemy ducked. Dust burst near them. It wasn't a clean shot, but it made them hide. Reed's eyes widened. His mouth moved, though the roar of battle drowned his words. He had seen it. She had bought them a moment. Her body trembled, but she fired again. The rifle was heavier with every shot. Ava's arms screamed. Her shoulder burned. She wanted to drop it, to crawl back into safety. But safety didn't exist anymore. Each pull of the trigger was clumsy, each recoil a shock, yet the enemy faltered. They had expected soldiers, not a civilian aid worker who refused to stay down. Reed barked orders, his voice alive again. "Cover fire. Move the wounded." His men, bloodied and exhausted, moved with new energy. A young soldier slid beside Ava, his face smeared with dirt. He reloaded quickly and muttered, "Keep them down, ma'am. You're buying us time." Her throat tightened. She wasn't sure if she was helping, but if these men believed she was, that was enough. She gritted her teeth and fired again. Reed glanced at her between bursts of fire. He had led men through countless battles. He had seen trained soldiers freeze, but this woman, this civilian, refused to crumble. She was terrified, yes, but still standing. And somehow, her courage made his own return. Another explosion rocked the ground. Ava dropped flat, her cheeks scraping against the sand. Pain seared through her shoulder. Her mind screamed to give up, but when she saw two soldiers dragging a wounded comrade to safety, using the cover her shots had created, the doubt melted. She was needed. That was enough. Minutes felt like hours. Ava's arms trembled violently. Sweat and dust stung her eyes. She had no idea how many bullets she had fired. Her ears rang, her chest heaved, but she refused to stop. Then it happened. She aimed at a shadow darting across the ridge. She pulled the trigger, and the figure fell. Her heart froze. She had hit him. She had taken a life. The rifle slipped in her hands. Her stomach churned. She wanted to vomit, to scream, to run. She stared at the motionless shape in the distance, horror washing over her. A soldier near her shouted, "Got him! Nice shot." His voice was triumphant, grateful, but Ava felt no triumph, only the crushing weight of what she had done. Her hands shook so badly, she almost dropped the rifle. Her breath came in gasps. Tears burned her eyes. She wanted to collapse, but bullets still flew. The battle still raged. Reed caught her gaze. He saw the tremor in her face, the horror in her eyes. He gave a firm nod. Not a command, not pity, respect. Ava swallowed hard. Her lips trembled. She nodded back. And with that, she lifted the rifle again. The night was not over, and neither was she. The desert night burned with chaos. The ground shook with explosions, the air heavy with smoke and ash. Ava pressed her cheek to the sand, the rifle gripped tight in her hands. Her body begged her to stop. Her arms felt like lead, her lungs screamed, but she refused. Reed shouted orders nearby. His voice was hoarse but strong. His men answered with fresh strength. Ava's clumsy shots had broken the enemy's rhythm. The ambush that once felt suffocating now felt shaky, fragile. A burst of bullets struck the metal near her head, spraying sparks. She gasped, ducking low, heart pounding like a drum. Fear tried to crush her. "You don't belong here. You're going to die here." But then she saw a wounded soldier being dragged to safety under the cover she had created. Her chest tightened. That was enough. Her fear was real, but so was her choice. She wiped the sweat and dust from her eyes. She lifted the rifle again. Her shot cracked, forcing another attacker to duck. She whispered to herself, "Good enough." Time lost meaning. Ava didn't know if minutes or hours had passed. Her body shook violently. Her shoulder throbbed with every recoil. Her lips were cracked from dust and heat. Then a grenade exploded close by. The blast threw her against the side of the truck. Her ears rang, the world spinning white. For a terrifying moment, she thought she was gone. Her hands searched blindly in the sand until they found the rifle again. She clutched it tight, refusing to let go. Her head swam, her vision blurred, but she forced herself to rise onto her knees. Through the smoke, she saw movement, an enemy fighter trying to flank them. Her breath caught, her fingers squeezed. The shot echoed, and the shadow stumbled back. A young soldier beside her shouted, "Nice one." He grinned, dirt smeared across his face, respect shining in his eyes. Ava didn't smile. Her stomach churned. She had taken another life, but there was no time to break. She forced her trembling arms to steady the weapon. Across the chaos, Reed met her eyes. His nod was sharp, respectful. Not pity, not surprise, recognition. She was part of this fight now. The enemy's fire grew weaker. It was no longer the storm that had crushed them hours ago. It was scattered, hesitant. Ava could feel it. They had lost their confidence. Reed's men pressed forward inch by inch, their movements sharper now. The line was no longer broken. It was pushing back. Ava fired again and again, each shot clumsy but loud, enough to pin the enemy. Her body screamed for rest, but her will was stronger.